Clara Reynolds learned early that poverty does not just starve your stomach, it eats your dignity. She grew up watching her mother cry into a cracked teacup while her father gambled away the last rent money. At 12, she promised herself, "I will never be like them. I will never beg. I will wear silk, drink wine, and people will bow when I pass." By 17, she knew how to soften her smile just enough to make any man believe he was saving her. She did not care for teenage romance. She cared for escape. Michael. Lewis was gentle, soft-spoken, a junior manager at the local factory where Clara worked as a receptionist. He carried her grocery bags when she pretended her wrist hurt. He bought her flowers when he caught her crying in the break room, though she had practiced those tears in the mirror. They dated 6 months before he proposed in a cheap cafe. A ring so modest it barely glinted under the flickering neon sign. Above their booth, Clara said yes because Michael was her ticket out. Yet, in the early days of marriage, she found herself startled by how much he loved her, how sincerely he traced her jawline at dawn. How he whispered, "I'd build you a castle if my hands were worth more." For a moment, Clara wondered if love could be enough. By their second anniversary, Clara learned that comfort was a prison wearing satin sheets. Michael's steady paycheck kept their tiny apartment warm in winter, stocked with enough pasta and canned beans to never go hungry. On Sundays, he brought her supermarket flowers, cheap but fragrant. Wrapping her in hugs she no longer craved. At night, while Michael snored softly beside her, Clara stared at the ceiling, imagining herself draped in silk gowns she saw on actresses in gossip magazines. She would run her palm over the thin gold wedding band on her finger, wondering if she'd settled too soon. Security cost freedom. If devotion tasted like stale bread when one had never tasted caviar. One Friday afternoon, Clara lingered at the cafe, where she now worked part-time as a barista. Through the window, she watched cars gliding past glossy sedans and luxury SUVs ferrying women whose heels clicked across marble floors, whose laughter floated above the roar of cheap engines. She wanted that sound, the careless chime of power. That evening, Michael returned home early, arms full of grocery bags, and a grin that made her stomach twist with both pity and resentment. "Guess what, Clara? They're considering me for assistant manager. That means more hours, more pay, maybe a car by next year." She kissed his cheek. She told him she was proud. Inside her head, she screamed. The first time Clara met Victor Grant, it was at the factory's annual Christmas banquet, a drab affair held in the community center's basement, where cheap tinsel and spiked punch were the only attempts at glamour. Victor was the guest speaker, a regional director from the corporate headquarters, all crisp suit and easy charm. He moved through the room like he owned every breath inside it. When he shook Michael's hand, Michael's shoulders straightened as if permission to exist had just been granted. Victor's eyes slid past Michael and found Clara. And this must be Mrs. Lewis, Michael's better half. "I see now he undersold you." His voice curled around her name like silk. Clara's cheeks warmed from the punch, from the praise, from the fact that when Victor laughed, the women at the back table clutched their pearls like nuns at confession. For the rest of the evening, Victor lingered near her. He asked about her dreams. He told her about the city, real parties, real art, real life. He painted her hunger in words so vivid she almost tasted them. When Michael went to the bathroom, Cade leaned close enough that the scent of his cologne pushed the cheap wine off her tongue. "You're wasted here, Clara. You were born for better." She should have laughed. She should have stepped back. Instead, she let him tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. When Michael returned, Clara was all polite smiles again, but inside, her heart knocked at the cage she'd built of loyalty and vows. Victor didn't call her. He didn't have to. 2 weeks later, Clara found herself in his office, a glass fortress high above the factory floor, where the hum of machines sounded like ants beneath a god's boots. "Michael's doing well, you know," Victor said conversationally, pouring 2 glasses of wine that cost more than her week's paycheck. "It's a hard-working man. Loyal, but loyalty alone won't buy you that dress you deserve." He motioned to the city. Skyline, a web of lights and promises. "I could help you both. I could help him get the promotion he dreams of. I could help you become the woman you dream of. All you'd have to do, ... is trust me." Clara laughed too loudly, nervously spilling a drop of wine onto his pristine desk. "Victor, this is ridiculous. I'm married. I love my husband." He circled her like a shark, his voice low, patient. "Of course you do. But love doesn't pay for Paris. Love doesn't make them look at you and whisper, 'How did she get him?'" When his fingers brushed her wrist, Clara didn't pull away. After that afternoon in Victor's office, Clara told herself it was just talk, okay? Harmless flirtation that made her pulse race for the first time in years. She cooked Michael's favorite pasta that night, let him kiss her shoulder as she stirred the sauce. She whispered, "I love you," and almost convinced herself she meant it. But temptation is a weed water at once. It grows roots. Victor sent her roses at work, a flower for every dull day you endure here. When Michael asked who they were, from, Clara laughed, the supplier's thank you gift. Some promo nonsense. A week later, Victor offered Michael a minor promotion, shift supervisor. Michael came home dizzy with gratitude, lifting Clara off her feet, spinning her around the living room while she hid her tears in his neck, because she knew what Victor would want in return. He didn't force her. He never begged. He only invited. Her 2 celebratory dinners in expensive restaurants far enough from their town that no one would recognize her. The first dinner was safe. She wore a dress Victor bought, deep red silk, her first taste of luxury. He toasted to Michael's bright future. He listened as she confessed her secret bitterness about money, about the cramped apartment, about her mother's sighs when she visited. Victor nodded sympathetically, brushing invisible crumbs from her lower lip with his thumb. The second dinner ended in a hotel suite. For months, Clara balanced 2 worlds, the humble wife at home, the reckless queen behind locked hotel doors. Victor draped her in gifts, handbags she hid in old cereal boxes, jewelry she tucked behind cleaning supplies. Michael, blind and grateful, worked longer hours to prove himself worthy of his new role. He brought Clara breakfast in bed on Sundays, bragged about his boss's respect, never noticing how she flinched at Victor's name. But lies, like flowers, wilt under light. One night Michael returned home early, a migraine pounding behind his eyes. He found Clara's phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. While she reheated leftovers, she barely touched anymore. He did not want to read it. But curiosity is the death of innocence. Room 512 tomorrow. I'll bring that dress you liked. 5. He dropped the phone so hard it clattered against the fridge. Clara, stepping out of the bathroom, hair damp and face scrubbed raw of guilt, froze when she saw him standing there. Who's V? Clara? The silence that followed broke her marriage louder than any slap. She fell to her knees, grabbing at his sleeves, whispering half-formed apologies. But the look in Michael's eyes told her no god or husband could save her this time. Michael left before dawn. No suitcase, no fight. Just his car keys, his coat, and every ounce of hope he had stored for the life they were building. Victor, true to his nature, answered Clara's frantic calls with amused detachment. Relax, darling. Men like Michael always crawl back. Or, you can come live with me. You deserve better anyway. So Clara did. For a while, she traded her cracked apartment walls for Victor's penthouse skyline. She wore his diamonds. She drank champagne for breakfast and learned how loneliness still finds you, even in silk sheets. But ambition is only loyal to power, and Victor's attention shifted as quickly as a summer storm. New parties, new faces. Clara became old. Gossip in expensive heels. When she found another woman's earrings tangled in Victor's bed, he laughed. Don't pretend you didn't know, sweetheart. I never promised forever, only fun. By the time she slammed the penthouse door behind her, her bags weighed more than her dignity. She crawled back to the small apartment she once shared with Michael. It was empty, dusty. The mail slot overflowing with unpaid bills and final notices in the corner of their bedroom. She found the drawer where Michael had once hidden her birthday cards. Inside was a single envelope, addressed in his neat, steady hand. For Clara, when you finally run out of lies. Scandal loves an open wound. Victor's rivals at the company leaked photos to the press. Clara stepping out of his penthouse in silk robes. Victor whispering at her ear at gala dinners where she once believed she belonged. Tabloids devoured. It factory manager's wife becomes CEO's mistress. How one woman clawed her way into high society and fell. In town, old neighbors shut their doors when Clara passed. Her mother, who once bragged about her rich son-in-law, stopped answering calls, too ashamed to be seen at church. Her bank account, Kuhn, once plumped with Victor's hush money, froze when his wife filed for divorce. Lawyers hunted her signature on hush agreements she had never read, papers she signed between kisses and lies. One morning, Clara stood in the supermarket aisle with a basket of instant noodles and frozen peas, her only groceries in weeks, when two teenage girls giggled behind her back. That's her, right? The whore from the paper. She left the basket. She left the store. She left her pride somewhere between the milk shelf and the checkout counter. When the coughing started, she thought it was just a cold. Children catch colds. She told herself that each night while wiping sweat from her son's brow. A child with Michael's soft eyes and her sharp chin. Hospitals cost money. She had none. She sold the last of her jewelry for antibiotics. She tried to call Victor. He blocked her number in the cramped ER. Her son clung to her blouse, too weak to cry. The nurse asked for insurance. Clara stared at her hands. Do you have a husband? Family? Someone who can sign for you? The word husband tasted like acid. She whispered Michael's name to herself until the nurse gently repeated, Ma'am, we need someone. She thought about the envelope he left. She never dared open it. But now she had nothing left to lose. It took 3 buses and 1 night, sleeping on a bench outside a train station to find the town where Michael's sister lived. Clara knocked on the door just before sunrise. Their son's feverish head resting on her shoulder. Michael's sister opened the door halfway. One look at Clara's face and she slammed it shut. Please, I need him. He's sick. Michael knows how to. Her sobs ate her words. A car pulled into the driveway. Michael stepped out, hair longer, beard rough, eyes clear in a way they never were when they still belonged to her. He saw the child first, then her. He didn't flinch. Michael, please, help him. I don't want money. He just needs you. Michael lifted the boy gently. His son. No need for a test. The boy's eyes were his mirror. Inside, Clara. For him, not for you. Michael stayed by their son's hospital bed for 2 nights straight, never looking at Clara except to ask for water, blankets. The doctors numbered when the worst passed, the 4 drips slowing, the fever breaking. He sat beside her in the family lounge. He will live. He's strong, stronger than both of us. Clara tried to reach for his hand. He pulled it back. I wanted the world, Michael. Now I have nothing. Please. Just say you hate me. Scream at me. Anything. Key's voice was calm. So calm it cut deeper than rage. I don't hate you, Clara. I pity you. I pity the girl who thought diamonds meant love. I pity the mother who traded her child's peace for silk sheets. She opened her mouth. Another excuse, another apology. He stood up. Take care of him. Do it alone. That's the only crown you ever deserved. Clara and her son returned to the tiny apartment she could barely afford. Rent overdue, windows cracked, walls echoing every cough her child made. She found work at a diner waitressing. Tables, where once she had been the one sipping cocktails behind Victor's tinted glass. Men now looked at her with the same hunger Victor once did, but she knew better now. She knew every promise had teeth. At night, when her son slept against her thin shoulder, Clara reread Michael's unopened envelope again and again. She never dared break the seal. She sold old handbags online, pawned the last gold bracelet she once flaunted at parties. Cute. Each dollar bought soup, cough syrup, bus fare to a free clinic. It never bought peace. One rainy evening, while wiping tables at the diner, Clara froze at the sight outside the window. There he was, Michael. Taller, broader, somehow. Beside him walked a woman with kind eyes and an easy laugh, holding his arm the way Clara once did. They stepped inside, seeking coffee to warm their hands. Michael's eyes met hers, only for a heartbeat. No accusation, no hatred. Just a nod, as if to say, we are strangers now. And that is mercy, Clara whispered to herself. He looks so free. She served them silently, refilled their cups, took their plates when they finished. She never spoke. Neither did he. When they left, she hid in the storage room and wept until her manager knocked, asking if she needed the rest of the night off. She said no. She needed every tip, every penny. Her son asked one night, "Mama, where is Daddy?" Clara smoothed his hair, kissed his temple. She lied. She told him Daddy was a brave man building houses far away for people who had none. Then she sat alone in the kitchen and opened the envelope at last. Inside, a single page. Michael's handwriting, neat and final. "Clara, when you read this, I will already have given you everything I can. The rest, the forgiveness you seek, must come from you. I hope you find it before you die, wondering why no crown ever fit your head. M." She closed her eyes, pressed the paper to her chest. And for the first time in years, she prayed. She bought a cheap notebook at the corner store. She filled it every night, with apologies she could never say to Michael, with promises she whispered to her son, with confessions no priest would ever hear. She titled it in shaky pen, "The Price of Ambition, My Broken Crown." One spring morning, she left the notebook on Michael's porch, the same porch where he once lifted her into his arms as a bride. She did not wait to see if he found it. She did not knock. She bought 2 bus tickets, one for her, one for the boy. She told him they were going somewhere the sky was wide, where people forgot old stories and whispered new ones. As they boarded, she looked back once at a city that had devoured her dreams and spat her out poorer, wiser, and still standing. Somewhere inside that cheap spiral-bound diary, she wrote the last line for Michael. "I have no crown left to wear, but our son will never carry my mistakes. I pay my price, so he won't have to." The bus pulled away, taking Clara into the haze of tomorrow. Years drifted over Clara's shoulders like forgotten snow. Her son Liam, the name she whispered into empty rooms, grew taller than her by 15, smarter than she ever dreamed. He never knew the whole truth. He only knew Mama worked too hard, loved too fiercely, and sometimes stared too long at the photo of a man she called Daddy but never saw again. They lived in small towns, moving when whispers caught up to them. Clara took jobs that paid in cash, waitressing, cleaning offices at night, folding laundry for strangers who never wondered what stories clung to her silence. Liam got good grades, never skipped class, never fought back when other boys mocked his cheap shoes. Each night, Clara kissed his forehead, vowing silently, "He will never become me. He will never bow for crumbs." One autumn day, Liam found the diary. He was 17, tall, restless, carrying dreams bigger than the rusted trailer they called home. He read every page. He read the scenes, the silk bedsheets, the crown that shattered on Victor's marble floors. He read about Michael, the father who never wrote back, never called. "Why didn't you tell me?" He asked her, voice trembling between love and disgust. Clara, hair graying at the temples, sat on the porch steps, smoking a cigarette she promised to quit years ago. "Because I wanted you to hate me less," she whispered. Liam packed a bag that night. He promised to come back. He did not. She watched the taillights vanish. Each mile a mercy and a punishment all at once. Miles away, Michael Lewis sat in a sunlit kitchen, flipping through a tattered envelope that had survived 2 moves. A new wife who asked no questions and a life built from rubble. Inside Clara's diary. He read it once every spring when the lilacs bloomed, the flowers she once said made her feel royal. His new wife, Emily. Funny how names circle back. Made coffee in the next room, humming a lullaby to the child they had together, a daughter. This time, Michael closed the diary, laid it beside a framed photo. A boy he never knew, his son by blood. By fate, not by life. Forgive her, Dad. Emily asked gently, setting the coffee down. Michael's thumb traced the ragged cover. Forgiveness doesn't bring back what betrayal stole. But maybe it stops stealing what's left. He tucked the diary back in the box. He had a garden to tend, Kyle to teach how to draw. He had, at last, a home without ghosts. Years later, Liam found him. A knock at the garden gate. Man, shoulders square, eyes so painfully familiar that Michael dropped his trowel into the flower bed. I'm Liam, Clara's son. Michael stared at the boy, no longer a boy, at the jawline too sharp to be just his, at the hands that trembled exactly like his once did. They sat beneath an old oak tree, two men and decades of silence binding them closer than blood ever could. She's gone, Liam said finally. Left me a letter before she went away. Said you'd understand more than I could ever forgive. Michael did not speak. He only laid a hand on the boy's shoulder, the way he wished someone had done for him once. Stay for dinner. You don't have to leave tonight. In that quiet, they built something Clara never could. Truth, forgiveness, and a fragile peace that needed no crown to shine. Liam stayed a week that first time, a week of awkward breakfasts and questions too raw to voice. Michael taught him how to prune roses, how to mend a squeaky door hinge, how to speak softly and mean it. Lectures, no forced confessions. Just to men learning how to say, I wish it were different without opening old wounds. Emily, Michael's new wife, cooked for Liam like he was her own. Some nights, she caught him staring at her little girl, his half-sister, spinning in the yard in a sunbeam. Do you hate her? Emily asked once. Gently, Liam shook his head. No, she has him. That's enough. When Liam left again, Michael pressed an old envelope into his hand. The original letter Clara had left at his door years ago. I think you should know your mother better than any rumor. Forgive her, or don't, but know her first. Liam read it on the bus back to the city. Clara's scrawl, shaky but defiant. My son, may the weight I carried never bend your spine. I broke myself so you'd never need to. Crown you free. Forgive me if you wish, or never forgive me at all. But live like you owe no one your throne. He folded it into his wallet, behind his ID and a faded baby photo Michael had quietly given him. Years passed. Liam worked graveyard shifts at a logistics hub by the docks, stacked crates for 10 hours straight, paid off old debts in Clara's name. He studied nights, business courses, night classes. He built what neither of his parents could, a quiet empire. Brick by honest brick. One winter, standing on the frost-bitten balcony of his tiny rented flat, Liam found himself whispering, "You tried, Mama. Maybe that's enough." He found Michael again, older now, slower, still tending roses for a daughter nearly grown. They did not hug, but they shook hands, firm, unafraid of bloodlines anymore. "You're a good man, Liam," Michael said, pride swelling where bitterness once lived. Liam smiled, a ghost of Clara's grin in the curve of his lips. "Took two broken people to make one who's not," he said. "Guess we did okay." Q. When Liam buried Clara's diary, it was spring. No gravestone, no priest. Q's just him, a shovel, and the soft earth behind his first house. The house he bought with clean money, hard-earned, never stolen kisses. He laid the diary inside a small wooden box, next to a single photo of Clara holding him as a baby. He whispered into the hole, "I forgive you. Not because you asked, but because I'm tired of dragging you behind me." Then he covered it, patted the dirt flat, and stood up a man unbowed. No crown needed. Years later, Michael died peacefully under the same oak tree where he first told Clara forever. Emily sat beside him, humming, holding his hand as the sun rose. Liam, now a father himself, read his children a bedtime story once a week. Never about kings or queens. Only about ordinary people who made extraordinary mistakes and loved each other anyway. In a dusty attic somewhere, a diary slept forever. The last ghost in a bloodline that learned, at last, how to live free. Thank you for listening to Clara's Journey, a story about choices, regret, and the price we pay for crowns we never needed. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone you care about. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your words remind us why we keep telling these tales, and if you wish to hear more stories that linger in your mind long after they end, subscribe to Inspire Tales and turn on the bell icon. Take care of your dreams, and remember, sometimes letting go is the greatest crown you will ever wear. Goodbye, and see you in the next story.